welcome back. I hope everyone is doing fantastic. This video is going to be another catch-up style interview with the Stader Hedera team, which of course I've featured on the channel in the past, as well as several different videos talking about their staking platform. This video will of course be going over what's to come in the future, what's happened in the past, and also what they're working on in the present. So without further ado, I'll let you guys enjoy that. So welcome back, Gautam. Very nice to have you back on the channel again. Obviously been a long time since we spoke previously. I'm really thankful to have you back around.
Thanks for having us, Dan. Great to speak to you again.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I think we'll kick this off like we have done in the past over the last couple of sort of interviews or chats we've had, which I guess is to do a recap since we last spoke of how far we've come and how far the Stader platform, the Stader Hedera platform has actually developed since then. So I think when we last spoke, obviously unstaking sort of just went live. And I believe now, so you guys have completely transferred across into the new exciting world of native staking on Hedera. Do you want to explain a little bit more about what you guys have been doing and how that's integrated and transformed the product as it currently stands?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a while since we've spoken to you, but yeah, like you rightly said, the major change has been when we sort of started out, and just a recap for folks, we started out by saying that Stader's role in the overall ecosystem development is to generate the demand side of staking, whereas sort of getting the users attuned to staking, spreading the information, giving them a platform to start off, whereas the so-called supply side of staking, or the node side of staking, will be built by Hedera and 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦, and they will sort of come up with the connection to the nodes. So now, when that went live, we basically connected the dots. So earlier, our rewards were totally funded by the Hbar Foundation, whereas now the Hbar that users give us actually gets staked to the nodes through native staking. And we collect rewards on everybody's behalf and auto compound them through our smart contracts. The Hbar Foundation is still giving a small top up on top of those rewards. That's to encourage the use of DeFi. And we'll talk about some of the key differences or value additions even in the current state between HBARX and just pure native staking. But the idea is that whatever Hbar that you give us now and whatever Hbar was previously staked with us is all going to the nodes, is all participating in sort of securing the network and decentralizing the network. And the rewards that are being generated are largely being generated from the native staking layer. So that's what's been the major change on the product side of things. All of this happened in the backend, by the way. So no change for end users. HBARX continue to accrue value, and also basically it was like kind of like a seamless transition like we had with V2. But with this sort of connection being made now, the product is pretty stable. So yeah, that's been the major product update. I think there have been a couple of ecosystem updates. So I think since we last spoke, of course, Saucer has launched and Heliswap has launched, and we've gotten new pools there. So there are 6 or 7 odd pools across these 2 dexes where people now have the opportunity to use their HBARX to gain extra yield. So that's been one, and we've actually partnered with a couple of NFT platforms as well. 𝗟𝗜𝗙𝗡𝗏 and 𝗟𝗜𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗡, to just demonstrate that you can actually, buy and sell NFTs in HBARX directly without having to convert back to Hbar. So yeah. We've been busy.
Yeah, you guys definitely have. Yeah, that's quite a cool feature as well. I've seen some other sort of tokens, HTS tokens, being used for NFTs. So it's nice to see that we're sort of transitioning away from just using Hbar solely. Can give a bit more value to tokens like HBARX and other things. But touch back on what you said then, I think, because the base staking rate, native staking rate, is 6.5% capped, isn't it, at the moment? Yep. And I'm just looking at the platform now. So the APY on Stader Hedera is obviously 9.65 roughly, give or take. So an extra 3% yield, near enough, from the top ups from the Hbar Foundation.
Yeah, so not exactly. So let me just try and break that down, right? Sure. Yeah. So basically the 6.5 from staking is what we call APR. Right? Because that's what you get for what you have sort of put in. Now, there is a top-up of 100K 𝗟𝗚𝗡 per day from the 𝗟𝗚𝗡 Foundation. That takes the overall APR to about 9.11. And then because of the way our smart contracts are structured, each day there's auto compounding that happens, right? And that pushes the overall APY value up to about 9.6.
I think that's thank you for jumping in and correcting that, because there's been a little confusion sometimes when I put videos out. So APR is obviously no compounding. APY is including that compounding period of frequency. And it's a good point to mention as well, because I did do a recent video talking about risk profiles and the differences or the different options for staking at the moment. Obviously, we have native staking, we have you guys sort of in the middle, and then we have SourceSwap, real true DeFi, like full on DeFi, more risk, obviously. One of the benefits, obviously, of using HBarX is the fact that you guys, your smart contracts are auto compounding for the users on the back end anyway, on a 24-hour epoch interval. Whereas obviously native staking, people are having to obviously claim the rewards or change their HBAR balances in their wallets to claim and compound those rewards. So again, it's another sort of little benefit of using HBarX still at the moment.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the operational benefits, but I think the main benefit still sort of exists, because if you look at all of the ecosystems, native staking pretty much comes first. And liquid staking sort of comes second in terms of chronology, But basically, we've done it the other way on Hedera, but that's okay, because if you look at what you can do with your HBAR right now, so either you can stake it in native staking, or you can put it on DeFi directly in a Saucer pool or a HeliSwap pool or anywhere else. But with HBarX, the main sort of differentiation in capital efficiency comes from the fact that actually you can have it staked and earn those staking yields and get HBarX and still participate in LP pools, in SaucerSwap, or do sort of any sort of transaction with it without having to let go of the staking reward. So there, the element of capital efficiency that liquid staking brings in is probably the biggest advantage. And then there are obviously other smaller advantages, like, a little higher APY or APR, right? And then the APR converted into APY through auto compounding.
Yeah. It's another good point. We've kind of been spoiled, right, on Hedera, because of course you're right. It's native staking normally is launched first, and then you get the liquid staking platforms and products like yourselves afterwards that sort of piggyback off that infrastructure. Whereas we had it obviously the other way around, which has been a blessing really. It's introduced people to staking a lot earlier, and it's also given people a lot more information about how these different sort of protocols and stuff can work behind the scenes, which is obviously very nice. There was actually one thing while we're just still talking about the product. Obviously, we'll talk about some potentially new products later down the line. Some questions that I've had an awful lot of is on the interface is, when is the mobile interface coming? And the second one is, can people have on your front dashboard when you log in, it states your total HBarX and your HBarX exchange rate. Can people have a statistic on that dashboard showing them exactly what they've earned from the Stader or the HBarX staking? They're the two main questions that I receive a lot of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's things that we have taken note of as well. Unfortunately, I don't have a very hard date yet. So as the Stader platform overall is sort of 6 chains, right? And we have sort of underlying architecture across these 6 chains for the front end. So Hedera was like the first new chain we launched, and it's the oldest chain as well. So unfortunately, it's been on the old sort of dApp architecture, which was desktop only. But we are slowly moving to an architecture which is sort of mobile friendly and can be used through mobile phones as well. And I think it's hopefully a matter of a few weeks where we do that front end change. It's just been difficult to kind of make that change because we didn't want to do it along with V3 because it was a huge back end change, and if we would change the front end as well, just too many moving parts. But it is something that we've taken a note of and something that we will definitely address in the coming weeks for sure. And in terms of the calculator, again, something that we have taken a note of, and we do want to give that information. There are a couple of challenges there. One thing we are doing is we are putting a staking rewards calculator, so you can enter the amount of Hbar that you staked and the exchange rate at the time, and then you can get the exact value of your Hbar increase. But why we can't do that directly when you or not that easily when you log in with your wallet is that we don't store any information. Right? So being completely permissionless and decentralized, we actually do not store any wallet information or any transaction information ourselves. Right? So the only way for us to do that is to go back in history and check when you had staked and how much you had staked. Right. Again, that's because of the DeFi nature of the protocol, right? So for us to do that, obviously, it's easy if you've done only a couple of transactions. But for somebody who's done multiple transactions, it becomes very complicated very soon, right? So that's a little bit difficult to build. I'm not sure we'll be able to do that, but we will definitely, or we are actually coming up with a small sort of tool where you can enter some of the values yourself and calculate and then reconcile how much extra Hbar that you have gained.
Okay, sounds really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's the extra calculation or the sort of extra values or the value-added reporting has to be juxtaposed with the fact that ultimately we are in this world because we want to be in sort of a trustless system that can work seamlessly for everyone in a permissionless manner. So that's why we don't store any data, and we don't plan to store any data as well. So it's a little difficult to build just the profit calculator.
Definitely. No, completely. And that's, again, quite refreshing to hear, actually. I retweeted something recently about MetaMask, obviously looking to start logging IP addresses, and that's caused a bit of a stir inside the sort of crypto space. I don't know if you caught that one. Some links to JP Morgan, I think, MetaMask being owned by a holding company that's owned by JP Morgan.
Oh, okay. I haven't looked into that, but yeah. I think based on the tenets, I come from traditional finance, and the reason why I made the switch was also because of just the fact that this whole ecosystem, the promise of the ecosystem is a sort of fair or fairer and more permissionless sort of basis where you're basically treated equal if you have 10 Hbar or 10 million Hbar.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And that's sort of one of the fundamental principles, isn't it, of why people sort of get into crypto. I think majority of the time it is that permissionless aspect. I don't have to rely on something in the traditional system to do something for me. It's it swings and roundabouts. No, cool. So it's definitely some updates there. Nice to hear that you guys are obviously looking at sort of rolling out a new architecture almost for the web side for the app for mobile, and obviously some new features there coming in terms of staking calculators and whatnot, in terms of a bit of information around rewards, which is really nice. Do you want to give a quick update as well on the growth we've seen, or that you guys have seen in terms of sort of TVL and users and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think don't remember the last time when we spoke what it was, but I'll just tell the latest ones. So I think we've crossed 100,000 transactions on this contracts combined. So that's great, because that's the best way to test a smart contract, to have it up and running for 6 odd months and nothing going wrong majorly, at least at the backend calculation. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that. The other one that we are really proud of is close to 14,000 unique wallets, right? So it seems like the retail crowd has sort of given the thumbs up to the product. So that's again very good to see. Yeah, and from a security perspective, this time V3 is dual audited by Hbar and 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗘𝗥. Right, so we went all out because we knew that this was going to be the stable version of the product, and we didn't want to leave anything to chance. So we actually did 2 audits. On the TVL front, it's been a regular growth. That's been great to see. And of course, there was like one massive institution coming in, which was, it happened in an instant, but it was like months of work where they sort of went over our smart contract, went over the reports, the security reports, went over everything, the on-chain data, and sort of gave from a security and sort of reliability perspective the thumbs up. So which was again very heartening for our devs and the entire team to see that somebody would kind of trust us with that amount of money. And so yeah, that's sort of given our TVL quite a bit of a boost. And yeah, it's been months of hard work, but it happened in a day. So that was nice and rewarding. So yeah, I think user growth. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, no, amazing. I actually specifically remember that day. I remember seeing loads of stuff on Twitter, Reddit, and even my comments saying, what the hell has happened to the Stader, the APY effectively on the platform? And obviously people were checking. It was a several hundred million HBAR, wasn't it, that was deposited?
Yeah. So we basically doubled. So obviously the HBAR went to half. Yeah. The APY went to half because the TVL doubled just because of the formula. Right. So yeah. But yeah, I think the good thing to see is that, that's a vote of confidence for the DeFi ecosystem as well, right? Because ultimately, if we want to build the ecosystem up to be something that can be used by everyone, it's good to have both large holders give their thumbs up as well as small holders give their thumbs up, because it's kind of secure enough for institutions, but it's also easy enough for the average Joe to understand.
Completely agree. Well said. Yeah, definitely that striking that balance for sort of all parties that are involved, which is a great check mark. It's almost like a third audit, like you said, isn't it? Really, a large institution with that much capital is of course going to sanity check everything that they're doing and the product that they'll be using. Plus, then you had 2 audits from reputable companies for the V3 launch. So really sort of big green check marks there across the product in general. And of course, anyway, like we said, there was pretty much no downtime between V2, V3 realistically, and everything was completely smooth. And I didn't really see anyone say anything. I don't think people even realized you guys had transitioned. It was that smooth, to be frank. So obviously that's always really, really good. Before I started recording, obviously you were telling me about some potentially new products that might be coming to the Stader Hedera arsenal going forward. Do you want to tell everyone about those 2 different products and just give a bit of an overview of potentially what we could be seeing in the future?
Yeah. So absolutely, right. So obviously now with V3 being sort of done and we're making some changes to the front end, like we said, to sort of make it more compatible and to sort of give folks what they were asking for. But we're obviously kind of looking a few weeks down the line and thinking of, what else can we build which would be useful for the community. So there are a couple of product concepts that we put out there for comment in the public domain. So the first one I'm going to talk about is called Stable Stake. So the basic idea is that you stake your HBAR, get HBAR_X, and then you deposit it into a new smart contract. And what this new smart contract does is it tries to keep the value of your investment the same in terms of HBAR levels, and the returns that you get, it converts them into USDC. So basically, if you converted 1,000 HBAR into HBAR_X, the HBAR_X will accrue value, but the smart contract will sell a small amount of HBAR_X every day, so that the value of your total investment remains 1,000 HBAR, plus you get USDC returns on top of it. And the idea behind the concept is that, there are lots of folks who have a long-term positive view on 𝗟𝗏. That's all. That's why we are all here on the ecosystem. But in the short term, might need USDC liquidity, or might want to get their returns in stablecoin because they want to participate in something else, or just that their view on the market is that right now things are going to look down, so I might as well get some stable coins and then go back into sort of growth assets later.
Yeah.
Right. So that this is sort of targeted towards them, and obviously it's just giving options for our users to kind of build their portfolios, because ultimately you want to deposit 𝗟𝗏𝗡 into this. So if you have like 1,000 𝗟𝗏𝗡, you can choose the percentage you want to get into stable coins and just give that amount of 𝗟𝗏𝗡. So it's like very divisible and very easily and flexibly kind of switching between getting yields in USDC if you deposit here, or if you just take it out, then your 𝗟𝗏𝗡 is accruing value in 𝗟𝗏, right? So it's very easy to switch between 𝗟𝗏 yields and USDC yields. So that's concept number one. And concept number two is something between, protocol staking or native staking and full liquid staking in 𝗟𝗏𝗡, which we're calling Stake Plus. So there, the concept is that instead of staking to a node, you stake or you point to Stader smart contract, which stakes to a node. And the returns that come from the protocol staking then get invested into 𝗟𝗏𝗡 and further into DeFi. So the idea is that you do not take any smart contract risk on your principal, so that the 𝗟𝗏 remains in your account. But because the returns that they're getting auto compounded at a higher rate than 6.5%. So the overall sort of return that you'll get is probably 7.5 to 8.5%, depending on the DeFi strategy you choose. And you're participating in DeFi with your returns, but not with your principal. So it's a way for people to sort of, have their principal investment in 𝗟𝗏 very, very safe and sitting in their own wallets, right? Whereas the returns that they're generating from staking are obviously, being deployed in DeFi, which increases the amount of returns that they're getting, and also introduces them to different DeFi activities in a very, sort of safe manner from an overall portfolio perspective. So yeah, those are the two sort of major concepts, and both of them are sort of out there in the public domain. You can head over to Twitter and get the links, and I encourage everyone to sort of give their comments.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, most definitely. I may even do another dedicated video looking through those and exploring them. But yeah, 100%. They both sound incredibly cool concepts / products to have. And I think, as I mentioned before, I've not really heard of either of those concepts actually across any other sort of chain. You mentioned the second one really being something that's almost only possible on Hedera. And the first one is, again, a really cool concept for risk management that I've not really seen before. So some sort of new products there, exclusive, I guess, to sort of Hedera.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the second one is completely sort of on Hedera and sort of builds on the unique way that native staking has been built on Hedera, where you don't actually need to transfer your 𝗟𝗏.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much going to be unique all the way. The first one that I talked about is, I think, from a concept perspective, unique. I don't see anybody doing that.
I haven't
across the ecosystems. Yeah. And the good thing about that is it's not just going to be us, right? You'll have to convert 𝗟𝗏𝗡 into USDC. So we'll obviously do that on a DEX. So we'll have a partner, and it'll help the ecosystem grow as well, and sort of get the DeFi transactions flowing as well, right? Because then that will create transaction volume on that pair, and that will attract more capital to that LP. And so the idea is to kind of use simple to use products, but at the back end, these are sort of kickstarting the DeFi engine and the DeFi transaction engine on Hedera.
Yeah, definitely. So sort of, like you said, a really simple interface, but stimulates the the network overall, effectively from that DeFi perspective, which would be really sort of nice to see, especially because we've been seeing slow-ish but steady growth throughout DeFi. It would be nice to just give that a bit more lift, because obviously there's some really cool opportunities within DeFi. It's just a good space to be in, providing that we've got key players like yourselves and the DeFi Alliance, that are being responsible with the way that these products and stuff are being built, which 100% you guys are, and the same goes for a lot of the DEXs that are being built. So really important stuff for obviously the users, and can kind of help them dip their toes further into DeFi, because obviously some people are incredibly risk averse, and rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've, it's been topical to talk about CeFi versus DeFi over the last couple of weeks.
100%.
And I think one of the things that came out of a lot of the discussions I've had and generally sort of listening is that, ultimately DeFi solves a lot of the transparency problem, and the problem of, having bad actors is to a certain extent sort of less easy to do in a DeFi environment. But DeFi itself has, a big user user interface or a usability problem, right? So I think we need to make it much simpler, like DeFi protocols overall, including ourselves, right? We need to make it much simpler for users to understand our products and to use our products, right? Kind of make it more like Web2 and make it more as easy as possible. And, if we can do that, then, we will see a lot of adoption, and, hopefully we'll see people not flocking to, more risky CeFi protocols.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the thing that sums it up is the learning curve, isn't it? For DeFi, there's definitely a learning curve there where people have to, swap tokens. I stake to this smart contract, and then I receive something else, like some other wrap token, and it can get a bit confusing for people at times. So simplifying that is definitely important. Well, awesome. I think that kind of wraps it up. Obviously, a nice sort of lengthy chat there. Some two awesome products, and obviously a great amount of progress since V2, even going back from V1. Obviously, we've gone through V1, V2, V3, and then I guess your new product launches, V3 plus. Once they kind of arrive, which is really awesome to see. So I think we'll kind of wrap this up here. Thank you very much again for sort of coming by and having a chat with me, Gautam. Really appreciate it. And I think everyone in the community enjoys these kind of open dialogues about what you guys are building and what's sort of coming next to Hedera and the wider ecosystem.
No, thanks again for having us. Wonderful chat as always. And hopefully once we decide which one we are building, we'll be back talking about one of our new products.
100%. Yeah, definitely more than welcome to have you back on the channel, and we'll deep dive. We'll do a deep dive into what's coming next effectively.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds good.
Thank you.